How would it feel to have a thriving fitness business and have the freedom to enjoy life at the fullest? Well, that is exactly what the Trainer Revenue Multiplier Show is going to give you. My name is Mathew Park. This is Jaime Filer.
Hey guys.
And we are here to serve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trainer Revenue Multiplier podcast. As always, I am your co-host, Jaime Filer. It is an absolute pleasure to have you because we are joined today by the incomparable, irreplaceable Professor Mathew Park. How are you, sir?
Well, now that I'm in the presence of you, all well-groomed, like just pumping us all up, I feel outstanding now that I get to hang with you.
For those of you who are watching this or who are listening to this rather than watching it on Facebook Live, you are missing a very fresh fade, my friend. You are. Matt, how does it feel to listen to your own voice on the podcast? I've always been curious. Is it weird for you to hear, like, do you know what I mean?
It is weird because I thought my voice actually was more higher pitched. And actually during I'm a deep voice. I'm like, my voice actually is pretty deep. And I was like, really? And then Jen's like, babe, I love your laugh. And I'm like, really? That much? I'm like, really? Do I just like laugh organically or what? So yeah. It's cool.
Well, there was no giggle on the intro. I guess John edited that part out, huh?
I'm sure it's going to come soon. There it is right there.
Perfect. Well, we are recording this on Tuesday, December 22nd, guys. We are a day out from Christmas Eve, 2 days out from Christmas, 8 days out from New Year's Eve, 9 days out from New Year's Day, which means the holidays are upon us. And we have already passed Thanksgiving. We have passed July 4th, Memorial Day. We've been through a lot of holidays, but we thought now was an appropriate time as ever to talk about bringing balance into the holidays from work to life.
I love that, Jamie. You're so bang on. I think that now it's 2 days before Christmas, actually 1 day before Christmas Eve. And most people, including, I'm sure all of us are thinking of like just Christmas Eve, Santa Claus, food, family, which is totally normal. I'm the same boat as probably most of us here. But I think the one missing piece that people forget, entrepreneurs obviously in business, is that this actually is the prime time to reflect, strategize, review, think about your goals, have time with family, still like recharge your batteries, like all the above. But the question becomes, how do you do it?
Yeah. So that is the question that we will be answering. And it's around this time of year, or at least I used to feel this way, that I almost regretted not being a trainer that worked a Good Life or Crunch because, obviously on Christmas Day, Good Life is closed. I would be forced not to work. And it was it was such a relief, right? But now I'm in charge of my business. I'm the CEO of Jaime Filer Fitness. Any day could be a day that I work, that I choose to work, or any day can be that I could choose not to work, I guess is the only other option. So Matt, how do we take a step back? How do we do that reflecting, as you just mentioned?
You got to plan it in advance. In fact, beginning of December, I sat down on my calendar for the basically from today, the 23rd till January 4th. I just mapped out the days I want to take off.
Beautiful.
My calendar shows I'll basically I think it is from 11:30 tomorrow till the whole day's off from there. The weekend's off. I only work Monday and Thursday next week.
Brilliant.
I took Tuesday and Wednesday totally off. I took next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. So it's almost like you got to pre-plan. As obviously you're the queen of this, Jamie, as far as pre-planning and boundaries. That you're the master of this as our mentor in TRM, is putting in like that pre-planning schedule. I think most of us going to the holidays, we're thinking, what do we do? When do we plan? When's good goal set in time? When do we work? And it's like, you've already lost the boat. You're already too late.
Yep. But Matt, I want to challenge you a little bit, but in a good way. Your pre-planning, I believe, started in and around spring or summer of 2021 when you started taking Wednesdays half off. Am I correct?
You are correct.
So you eased yourself into the holidays by giving yourself a half day every Wednesday, non-negotiable, so that you and your wife could have essentially a date day, right?
You are 100% correct. Good, very good memory.
So I think for our trainers to be told or to be advised that, hey guys, just take Christmas off, go spend it with your family. They're like, wait, what? Like how? No, you can't take a day. Then I won't make money. It doesn't obviously Christmas is around the corner. That's why we're having this discussion. But guys, if you are genuinely paranoid about Christmas, how about going forward? You end work at 3 p.m. on a Friday. Yeah. Like maybe that's your first step to pre-planning. Don't take any clients after 3. Don't answer an email, maybe a DM, but that's it, right? We got to ease you into the idea that time off isn't a bad thing.
That is so true. I actually want to ask you a question, Jamie, because obviously, you probably have planned your calendar year like months and months and months and months before, because obviously it's one of the skills that I would also share with everybody watching right now or listening to this podcast whenever you listen to it is Jamie's been so influential in organizing and structuring and teaching our members in TRM, because she also is very like boundary driven, like days off, like weekend with your wife, like really has a structure that I'm actually trying to work better just because of what Jamie's doing on, which kind of is cool. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear how you've planned your Christmas, Jamie.
I have planned it with Katie's family. But again, my planning started when I became the CEO of my business. Maybe the first year I was very lax with my boundaries. It's so funny. If you read the description of this podcast, I will reference trainers who will go pee in the middle of the night and check their phone for messages, right? That's very real. I bet you there are a bunch of people listening or watching right now saying, yeah, wait, what's wrong with that? So once upon a time, that was my first step to a boundary. And from there, honest to God, guys, it took me leaving the country or me going on vacation to set a boundary. It was impossible to stay where I am in Tampa and not work because, right, I'm in my home office. So why, right? Katie's at work all day. What do I have to do? And then I would just get caught in my own, well, I guess I'll just work, right? Yeah. So my Christmas and my strategy for Christmas began in 2020 when I realized that I was going to burn out if I didn't start taking time off. And like you going to the hotel, Matt, it's where you have your best creativity. Mine started with just leaving Florida.
Wow. That is a beautiful reminder because, yeah, like it's funny because I've known you now for 4 or 5 years. We met over in Vegas and on an event, and seeing you like just evolve in TRM, now being one of our like really being a high level teacher in TRM, like teaching even me stuff. And it's cool because you don't just preach stuff, you do stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I really respect about what you've done. And I think when I hear you share those things, Jamie, it's that what I'm hearing in your voice is just because Christmas is here doesn't mean it's just you're doing this all year round.
Yeah.
That's what I heard in your voice, which kind of is ironic because Christmas is here. You probably might take a day or two a little bit longer, but it's still an all-year practice, correct?
Oh, 100%, right? It's just like you and Wednesdays. It doesn't matter if the Wednesday falls on Christmas and you get lucky or it's a Wednesday in August. You're taking Wednesday off. That's it. Non-negotiable.
That's a great point.
How much anxiety did you get, Matt, when you decided that Wednesdays? Okay, tell me about it.
Okay, so now I'm going to use two things: anxiety and I recognized an addiction that I had with work.
Oh, yeah.
And when I went through the 12 steps of from my own like work addiction thing, I realized that I told myself having 3 companies was a great thing. And then I would never really have they would never all take off like they should have took off, right? They all were good, but they weren't, Jim Collins said, they were never great, right? Yeah. And I realized that when you finally admit that you, like, for example, like some people have an addiction to competing or food, like obviously you're a master when it comes to emotional eating, work, or whatever else it is. This is when I actually changed and made time for time off. Because I realized work should be fun, high leverage, work on things you obviously not always like you try to enjoy the best you can, but you're working on your zone of genius as much as possible within your time that you can. And I've realized now, like I go into work loving going into work now. Like I go into my calls really enjoying, and there are times as we all go through that we have, challenging working days. Like the last couple of days for me. But with that being said, I think those are the areas when you actually can create those boundaries like you have, Jamie. And I've also been on Wednesdays, and you work through them. When Christmas comes, you aren't like trying to like take a week just to recover because you're so burnt out from 4 months.
Yep. Matt, you brought up recently, I believe it was on a platinum call, and we've been talking for a while. I believe it's Brian Tracy's concept of the best rest and prep days, and that our work schedule, right? This is similar to understand it, build it, book it. Our best days are the ones where we're working in our business. It's the ones where maybe you're training 5 clients in person, so you're making $500, and you had 2 sales calls. So now it's $1,500, and something else happened, and you're just ultra successful. Then you've got your prep days where you're working on your systems, you're creating your email newsletter, you're maybe rebranding your logo, or you're having a chat with Laurent, and then your rest days. Just as a bodybuilder knows that you cannot train your biceps 5 days in a row. I would love if that was the case, but the muscle needs to rest. If you tear it, it needs a minute to break down and then rebuild bigger and better than it was before. That's what a rest day is. Yeah. If we understand this as a fitness enthusiast, why can't we understand it as a business owner?
That is a great point. I think it's because we are so ingrained to believe that if we don't work, we aren't being productive. Right. I think that's one of the things I had to overcome I'm almost using my own experiences, not so much what we teach in TRM, because I think both of us went through those phases. Yeah. Here's the funny thing, Jamie, that you're going to have a good chuckle on. So I'm reading another book that I actually would suggest is a really, really good book to read. Okay. It's called The Road Less Stupid.
Okay.
By Keith Cunningham. Yep. And it's such a different book. And I'll tell you why I bring it up now, because I just only read the first 30 pages. It's already opened up my mind. It's a book about thinking in business. So he wrote his 3rd book. Keith actually, Cunningham, if you research Keith, he's been in business for 43 years. Very similar to Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan, I just love him with the way his mind thinks when it comes to thinking about business. Keith, he actually was a finance guru for 40 years and wrote a book on thinking in your business, because he said this is the one thing, he calls it dumb tax in entrepreneurial world, where entrepreneurs believe that they have to work like harder, longer, faster, better, and they spend dumb tax in bad places because they don't think through problems strategically.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So he actually, this whole book has like 40 chapters, very short, on what he's done and learned in 25 years. And the questions that he goes through over an hour process to think through scenarios in his business, to create solutions based on thinking time, non-distraction free, right? Yeah. Which is like, dumb tax, right? Because we think that, again, learning is a big part of our growth. But like when I go for a hotel room, it's not to go and watch television and just hang out. No, it's actually to go because I want peace and quiet away from the family and kids, so I can work through problems and solve solutions and create plans. And I realized when I read that first chapter, it was actually 2 nights ago, I was like, man, I was getting these like light bulbs coming out of this thinking like it was 11 o'clock at night, and I couldn't get it. Jen's like woke up, she said, why are you still up? I said, I'm still working on through a problem in my journal. I'm like, go to sleep. I'm like, I can't. I'm working through a problem right now, and I feel like I'm in my zone. And it's because the right question was asked.
Yeah.
And what I've been learning from this Keith book is questions are good. The right questions are great.
Yeah.
And it's when you ask the right questions the right way and then work through it. So it kind of goes into that thinking time that we talked about, the boundaries and the time off. Mm-hmm. So I know it's a little bit off of our topic, but not really, because if we can schedule it as a discipline all year long, even twice a week, thinking time, imagine the problems that you can avoid.
Well, I think the other question we need to start with is, why do you feel the need to work on Christmas?
Yeah.
Right. There you go. That's your first question. That's your first problem to work through.
That's brilliant. That's enough said. That's great right there. Yeah.
Now you brought up addiction, Matt, and specifically work addiction. And it's very easy as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, to blur the line between addiction and love, right? We have people that I cannot convince in TRM 10K to offboard things because they're like, Jamie, you don't understand. I genuinely love it. And I said, bro, if anybody understands, I understand. Trust me. But it's also funny that you brought up my demographic of people who eat emotionally. Do you know why they do it, Matt?
I'd love to hear from you, Jamie, on that, please. Yeah.
It's to fill a void. And typically that void is joy. And once upon a time in their lives, probably in childhood, most frequently in childhood, food was love. Their parents would go off and do their own thing, completely ignore them, but the babysitter would give them candy. Or mom would bring home food before she went off and worked her second job. So food was always associated with, again, love and joy. Is one of the reasons people are so focused in their business because their dopamine isn't coming from anywhere else. They are filling a void. Maybe it's loveless family or no family at all. Maybe it's you're not about to use food as a crutch, so you dive into work. Maybe it's you love seeing those social media red lights pop up. Have you really evaluated if you're working because you love it or because it is giving you love?
That is like a question upon a question upon a question. That is so freaking awesome, Jaime. That is deep. Just so everyone knows in this call right now, what Jamie's showing right there, that's huge evolution of Jaime Filer right now. Like, oh my gosh. I'm even like, wow, I should take notes in my book right now for you.
Well, it was your idea. It's an addiction, right? When you pull the slot handle, gambling addiction, you pull the slot handle, that's dopamine, right?
Correct.
You respond to a DM, that's dopamine. The sugar in my pantry, dopamine. Sex, dopamine. Work can be dopamine. We don't think of it like that because it pays the bills, right? We need to work. We don't need to gamble, so it must be an addiction. No. Very easy to have work become that thing that fills a void in your life. So why aren't you happy? Or in what area of your life are you not happy?
When you say that, what's interesting about that conversation is that whether it's business, whether it's training addiction, competing addiction, food addiction, addictions can be endless on this conversation. Yeah. What I like about that is anyone listening right now is I would suggest take that question that Jaime just asked you guys about what are you filling the void around, because that is really a personal question you have to answer yourself, right? Yeah. And I can share you right, like not in a personal level, but I'm sure you have your own answers. I have my own answers, Jaime. But when it comes to like my own work addiction, I was covering stuff on mine. I'm sure you were covering stuff on your end at the time. And I realized that work now is a joy experience for me because I want to do more and more of things I want to do. And then we work as a team in TRM, like myself and you and Tanny and Laurent and Isaac and our whole team, our leadership team. But it is a process you have to work through. It's not going to happen in 24 hours. Right. Like overcoming a work addiction is like, well, probably overcoming any other addiction. You've got to first say you have the damn thing, right? And address it actually is a problem before you can actually solve it.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Totally correct, right? That self-awareness. Yeah. Step one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing, and Matt, it's so funny. We are just coming off your goal setting, your annual goal setting call, which is full of gold gems. Absolutely love it. One of your questions was, is this goal really for you? I believe it's somewhere towards the end of the steps, but you know, why do you want the new car? Is it actually you that wants the new car? Or do you want it because Instagram says it looks cool? Do you actually want the new house, or is that just to impress your friend group that you don't actually care about? So when people say I need to work on Christmas, I have to make the money. Okay. But wouldn't your family rather you be present? Do you actually want that? Is it for them? Because I know that Katie would rather me not make a $250 sale on one day if it meant that I didn't leave Christmas dinner to take a sales call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you share that, it almost sounds like to me is someone who may come, I'm sure we've all been there before in our previous years, is that someone who's facing that challenge is probably hasn't done the work before, probably feels guilty because they weren't disciplined and then they were doing something else to avoid the work they should be doing. Right.
Yep. We have a module in TRM. It might be, I think it's understand it, build it, book it. And we talk about, listen, we are not failing you in TRM. If you're making currently 15K working 60 hours a week, and we take you to 15K working 40 hours a week, we have not failed you. We gave you back a third of your week, right? Same income, but a third of your week back. That's what it means to take time off Christmas. If you didn't make the $250 sale and you were destined for it, you can make it on Boxing Day. That $250 will still be sitting in your DMs the next day. This person clearly wants to hire you. It's not a make or break deal by Christmas. It's still going to be there, but that's you working the 60 hours a week. It's not you leaving it. It's not leveraging your time.
That's so true. That's so true. So it almost goes into share, like, if you are listening to Jamie and I right now about this right now, and you are working or feeling guilty going into Christmas, thinking you have to work,
Yes.
the question is why, and what haven't you done to this point to create that opportunity for you to enjoy this time off with your family,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And almost like, obviously the next question comes into how could you maximize the next week and a half, 2 weeks in a way that you would bring you joy
Yeah.
in your life and business, where you could come January 3rd and be like, that was an epic Christmas. I got to hang with my family. I got this done. I got that done. Maybe that's a better question for you to ask yourself.
Totally. Yes. Great point, Matt. The other point to remember once you're going to start implementing this is nobody made you do it but yourself. I remember the first couple of times Katie was like, you can't pull out your phone at dinner. What are you doing? I resented her. I'm like, but what do you mean? This is how I literally pay for everything, is my phone at dinner. It took me a little bit of time to stop, reflect, and say, wait a second. No, I don't need to dislike her because she put the boundaries on me. Right? It's like when a parent says, no, you can't have candy for dinner. You're upset with them until you realize they're doing it for your best interest. Matt, I'm sure you want it, right? You're not giving your kids candy and they might get upset and throw a temper tantrum, but you're like, you realize that candy isn't dinner, right? So it's important to remember that nobody is forcing you to do this. We're asking you to, we're advising it because it is so great for your mental and physical health to take those rest days. Don't resent us or your significant other or your family or your friends who are pulling you away from your phone for a day.
That's right. That's right. And I think if there was a question to also ask about the phone thing, Jamie, would be, and members in TRM have done this. I'm not sure if you have or I have, but I know I did this for a couple of times and it made a significant difference for me, is trying a day. So you pick Christmas Day or Boxing Day. Maybe you pick half a day as your boundary. You're like, you know what? You might send your Christmas wishes in the morning, for an hour. And then from noon till 8, it's like the phone's off, And it's almost like you just like to say, you know what, I'm going to turn this thing off and have a very present experience, but you have to mentally decide that for yourself as an intentional exercise, not be like, oh, the phone's off. I'm going to go back when she's in the bathroom to look at my DMs for 5 minutes. No, it's an intentional exercise to actually get you in a place where you can be fully with your dog or cat or wife or whatever, right?
Yep, totally agree. Because that's the equivalent of, let's say, a gambling addict being like, I'm not going to play the slots. I'm just going to do a game of blackjack. If you get a taste, you get a taste. That's not the point. Gambling is gambling. Working is working. If you're answering a question in your DM about how much you charge for your program, you're working, even if it wasn't a sales call.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Can I share, Jamie, something that right now that I'm actually planning on doing just as a simple tool next week that I'm actually booking the hotel actually right after our call.
Awesome.
Is I'm deciding to go early morning next Tuesday to probably the La Chateau over in Vermont.
Oh, nice.
I use the hotel and everything.
Yep.
But Jamie, I was like, babe, I know how you are whenever you go to a hotel. Go book your hotel as long as you want. So I'm actually going to go early morning Tuesday and go and do some planning work on Tuesday morning. The hotel on Tuesday night. I'll be there Wednesday morning and probably be there most of the day doing some more planning just for one night. But what I've realized, is anybody watching right now wants to do a hotel night and actually maximize that. If you guys have kids, you may want to use the hotel experience if you have kids. Is what I found I've done this 5 times now, is number one, you have to go into a hotel with a plan. You can't just go to the hotel and be like, okay, I'm going to go work, but you've got to actually know intentionally what it is you want to work on if you go to the hotel. Totally. Number 2 is try to go to a hotel in a spa or a spa in the room, obviously because of COVID stuff, or just take breaks. Because working the whole time can be very challenging, and absolutely no TV on. Okay, this isn't a time to go and watch movies. And fireplace, relax, chill, but you got to have an intention. You got to make sure that you actually have a place where you can go chill in the spa, go for showers, go for walks, whatever, and just write and read and reflect and use questions and plan. And this is almost like a massage for you, except the hotel massage for your mind.
I like that. So essentially it's you working a lot on your business. It's giving yourself space to do all of the things you think you're too busy to do because you're so in your business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Love it. Matt, any last words of wisdom you would like to share with our podcast?
I have one question for you. If we have time for a second to ask you, is if you can kind of give our listeners and viewers, kind of some Filer, like what's Filer's plan for Christmas? Like, what are you doing to? I also want to hear words from you on this. What you're doing.
Well, Matt, in the interest of one of the TRM core values, which is truth, I'm going to be honest. My wife loves to nap. My wife is a napper. Yeah. Whether we're on vacation, you saw her go upstairs. She is currently napping. She will inevitably nap on Christmas. That is my peace and quiet. That is my equivalent of 60 to 90 minutes of a hotel room, a massage for my brain. So I will wake up Christmas morning, open presents with her mom and grandmother and that side of the family. Then we will make our way over to Dad's for brunch and open Christmas with that side of the family. 2 p.m., we head up to Auntie Lisa's in New Hampshire, open Christmas with those guys. We will come back in a reasonable enough hour that inevitably around 6, she will need a nap. I will dip into my DMs. Truth and authenticity. That is I call it an introvert interval. I get a break from people.
Yeah.
I just get to spend time with Jamie.
Yeah.
And I will be on Instagram for the hour. And then she'll say, okay, now mom's ready for dinner. And I say, okay. And then that's it. So that's my plan. It's family, presents, food.
Yeah.
An hour of Instagram and family, presents, food.
Wow. I love that truth, Jamie. That is phenomenal.
There you go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So will I be working on Christmas? Yes, but it's in order to massage my brain. That is my break from so much social anxiety.
Agreed. I hear you. That's phenomenal. Wow, Jamie. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Matt. Well, thank you for your time. I will not be speaking to you tomorrow because it's Christmas Eve. But I look forward to reconnecting with you after midnight on the 25th, Matt.
You're funny.
Yeah. Either way, thank you for being on. Thank you for enlightening us about what it means to take time off and how important it is mentally and physically to give yourself a rest day over the holidays and knowing it will not impact your business long term. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. If you want to sleep in Saturday morning and hang with your family, your kids, and have breakfast in bed, do it.
Go for it. Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you loved what you heard today, please share on Instagram or Facebook. Be sure to follow us at Trainer Revenue Multiplier, at Jaime91, at Mindset Matt. We look forward to having you listen to the next episode. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and more. Until next time, we will be back next week. Have an amazing day, and we cannot wait to see you back.
Hey, Jamie, next week, you and your wife are going live, aren't you?
We're going to talk about balancing and relationships in work.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. So team, definitely tune in for that episode. It's going to be like a secret little Christmas gift for you guys.
There you go. Going into the new year strong in terms of relationships and your professional life.
No napping during that time, right?
No.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you, Matt.